we'll get started now that it's 2:01. Thank you for joining everyone today. So we're going to be talking about the Arts Internship Office internship postings in this information session. And we'll be sending out the recording and the slides afterwards for all of you who are registered. But we're happy that you were able to make it to the live info session, and we'll be happy to be answering your questions at the end of this session today. My name is Kate. I'm the liaison officer at the Arts Internship Office, and I have my colleagues Jade, the manager of the office, and Haya, one of our student staff members, are on the call as well. So we will all be happy to answer your questions. Feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll get to them at the end of the presentation today. So, today, as I mentioned, we'll be talking about internship opportunities offered through the Arts Internship Office, specifically our internship postings. Just a quick note that we do have three different types of internship opportunities through our office. We're going into the internship postings today, but there are also our ARIA, our research internships, as well as resources and funding for finding your own internship. And there are information sessions that we've already recorded on both of those other topics that you can find on our website. But today we're looking at the postings specifically. So the AIO internship postings are a particular type of offering because the Arts Internship Office already has relationships with all of these host organizations. They are well-tended partnerships between the organizations and our office. And that means that the AIO also has a larger role or a role to play in the selection of interns that receive these placements. You will be applying, if you apply for postings, your application will go through the Arts Internship Office as opposed to directly through the host organization. And we do a first round of selections and interviewing and then pass along shortlisted candidates to the host organizations. And they are the ones who are ultimately going to be selecting the interns they would like to work with for the summer. And all of these uh, positions that are offered through the AIO postings come with an award. So the amount does vary based on the posting, based on the number of hours and how the duration of the placement. But all of that information is already present on the posting when you check it on our website. So you can see how much funding you'll receive if you are selected for that position. A couple of baseline eligibility criteria for applying for Arts Internship Office postings. You need to be a student in the Faculty of Arts, and you need to be returning to McGill in the same program in the fall. So if you are graduating this semester, you unfortunately can't apply for one of the postings, but you can and should absolutely go and speak with CAPS, Career Planning Services, who have a lot of resources for graduating students. But yes, you wouldn't be eligible to apply for one of the postings. However, if you are going to be going on exchange in the fall, that is still eligible. So that's still a McGill affiliated activity for your degree program. So you can do an Arts Internship Office posting placement in the summer, even if you're going on exchange next fall. There is a minimum GPA requirement for the postings of 2.7. But if you do feel that there are barriers or extenuating circumstances that have affected your CV, or not CV, your CGPA, and made it lower than our threshold, do feel free to include a statement explaining those circumstances, and we will take that into consideration when we're reviewing your application. And this is just a note that these are general criteria for eligibility for our postings as a whole, but obviously each of them, depending on the sector and the organization, has other specific requirements for candidates. So it's important to read each posting thoroughly to know what the criteria are that are posted by the host organizations themselves. But these are the general Arts Internship Office eligibility criteria. So just to talk a little bit about how to apply to the postings, and then I'll show you where to find them on our website in case you haven't been there yet. Um, The postings are divided up into different categories, more or less divided by sector. So do be sure to read through the different categories and look at the details on the different postings, as well as their requirements, as I just mentioned. You can learn a lot about the details of the internship and what your day-to-day might look like, what kinds of deliverables you might be working on, by reading the past intern stories that are also on the website there. And then you are able to select three postings maximum to apply for. So you'll select up to three and rank them for which one is your most interested in, second and third. And we really want to emphasize that it's important to make sure your application is high quality application and not that you're just selecting and sending out the same kind of information to all of the postings and organizations that you're applying to. That's the best way to make sure that your application does make it through the various rounds of screening that our office and then the host organization will be conducting. So do read the past intern stories, do look into the host organizations, do utilize some of the other resources and training that I'll mention in a few minutes to help make sure that your CV and cover letter are really tailored to the opportunities that you're applying for and that your application is of high quality and specific to what you're looking to achieve in this position. And yeah, as I mentioned, we'll have some other details on resources to support you in creating crafting a high quality application in a minute. Um, if you have specific questions, you can come to speak to one of our advisors at the Arts Internship Office. We have drop-in hours most days, and that is something that I'll be sharing at the end of this presentation. So you'll see the specific hours. We have drop-in hours right after this if you're on campus and you want to come talk to us at 3. Um, but do note that all of your questions about the postings and the process should be addressed to our office. So please don't reach out directly to the host organization. If you have a question about the posting, you should come to us. These are our partnerships and we facilitate that communication. But note that we also, as given that we do the pre-screening and selection process, we can't review your individual application. We can't review your CV or your cover letter ahead of the deadline because that would be a conflict of interest since we review all applications once they're submitted. But we recommend that you go to CAPS and they have advisors who can do that and go through that with you. Which leads into step 4, preparing the materials for your application. As we mentioned, CV and cover letter resources with CAPS. I'll be sharing that. And if you are considering an internship that takes place outside of Canada, you'll need to complete McGill's pre-departure orientation, which is an online training module through my courses. We'll take a look at that in a minute, but if you are even just considering doing an internship outside of Canada, it's going to be required that you have already completed the pre-departure orientation by the time you submit your application. So you need to make sure that you sign up for that as soon as possible. Registration is open now. So we recommend you do that quickly, and then it's valid for 1 year. So it lasts for a while. And then finally, the deadline for postings is February 8th, and we recommend that's a Sunday, and it's the deadline is that night. We definitely recommend trying to submit earlier than that, especially because our office is closed on the weekends. So if you're having a last minute question or issue, we're available during the week, but not on the weekend. So submit ahead of the deadline if you can. So we'll just take a quick look at the website. I'm going to stop sharing the slides for a minute just to show you how to get to our postings. And so this is the Arts Internship Office website. And down here under internships, you can click Learn More. And then this first option here is our postings. So on this page, you'll see these are the categories that I mentioned of the different sectors, and they have all of the different postings that fall under that category listed here. And then it's a button to open up the PDF, which has a detailed description of where the internship will be taking place, what the hours are, the dates, the award amount, and then description of the organization you'll be working with and the responsibilities that you would have if you were selected for that position. In this is a new posting, but if you look at one of the ones that we've had in the past, you can see the stories of past interns' experiences in that position are linked there as well. So that's a really useful resource for learning more about the positions that you might be interested in, and we recommend taking advantage of that. So, um, now to switch gears a little bit, we've told you about the postings, where to find them. Now we'll talk about how to apply specifically. So for your application, we have an extensive explanation on the website that shows all the different types of information and documents that you'll need to upload in order to apply, but I'll also show you the application form itself in a minute, just so that you have a sense. But overall, broadly, you're going to need to provide personal and academic information. So what program you're in when you're graduating, etc. Your unofficial transcript. So you don't need to pay for a transcript. It's not an official one. You can just access your transcript on Minerva, and then in your browser window, or control P or command P, and save as a PDF, and that is fine. Don't pay for your transcript if you don't need to. Confirm that you meet all of the eligibility criteria that we discussed earlier, but also that you are looking at the eligibility criteria for the particular placements you're interested in as well. You'll need to upload your targeted CV and cover letter, making sure that, again, you've selected your up to 3 internship placements that you're interested in based on the ones that really align the most with your particular interests and your skills. And both of those documents should be merged into one PDF. So we want your CV and cover letter back to back. Make sure that you have both. Both are required, but one document. If you are interning outside of Canada, you'll need the pre-departure orientation certificate of completion that you get at the end of that My Courses module. And we also have a handbook that has all of the information and requirements for any interns through the Faculty of Arts. So it's important to review those requirements as well. And we have the link to that up on the website for you to be able to look at whenever you want. And then there is also a consent form for the Arts Internship Office to share the application materials with our partners, because your information as a McGill student is confidential, so you need to agree to let us share your information with our partner organizations. So again, I'm just gonna stop the slides for a second to give
To
you,
clarify, just
oh
for
yeah,
the consent, it's just you have to click on the form itself, but there's not like an attachment that you need to
mm,
make sure people are not looking for that. But
great. Yeah. So this is what the application looks like. And we're showing you the back end of it, just because you have to fill in every field in order to get to the next field when you're actually filling it out. But just to give you a sense, you have your academic information, your unofficial transcript here, confirm that you meet our eligibility criteria, and then you're going to tell us which internships you're applying for and provide your targeted CV and cover letter in one document for that particular placement. And then you'll do that again for the following internships that you would also like to apply for. You'll let us know when you're available, and if you're traveling for this internship, this is where you'll put your pre-departure orientation completion letter. And then down here, you'll let us know that you've read the handbook, which will show you where that is on the website as well, and that you consent to our selection committee sharing your information with the host organization. So then we're collecting a little more information about you and where you heard about us. So that's what the application looks like. And just to give you a sense, if you click resources over here on our website, that's where you can find the handbook. Ta-da! Oh, I just uploaded the 2026 one, but I guess it didn't work. But we will check that, and it will be the 2026 one right after this orientation. Um,
If you refresh it now, it should be 2026. I just published
oh, I just
it.
had, that's tricky. Yeah, look at that. Magic. 2026. This is the updated handbook. We're really quick in this office. Um, great. So go back to the slides. That is what you'll need to prepare for your application. And this is just a quick look at the handbook, but we'll let you read that on your own time now that it is the correct version. And just another note, because it's really important, and sometimes people don't think about doing this until they know, that you get to the point of wanting to submit your application for your internship and realize that you haven't done pre-departure yet. So this is why we're emphasizing this a lot. It's important that you have to complete this before you apply for the internship. And you can find the information on how to access and complete the pre-departure orientation at this website down here, artsinternships/travel. And again, that is for internships taking place outside of Canada. But if your internship is, for example, in Canada, but elsewhere outside of Montreal, you will still need to register on the McGill Travel Registry, which is a database where McGill keeps track of where McGill students are traveling for university affiliated activities so that they can contact you in the event that there might be any kind of emergency in the location where you are. So any student whose internship requires travel outside of Montreal will need to register with the travel registry. And then if it's outside of Canada, you will also need to do the pre-departure orientation. Just a couple more details on pre-departure. It's recommended that you could do it 3 to 6 months before you leave. So again, we're in this January registration window and highly recommend you just go and get that done right away. This window is the course access will end on February 2nd. So you have a few weeks that you can conduct it now, before you'll need to register for the next window. And a reminder that AIO postings, but also if you're looking to find your own internship and apply to us for an award or looking to get credit for your internship that's international, in every case, you need to have done pre-departure already before submitting those applications. So, speaking of location, internship location can vary. Um, Obviously in the fact that some are in Montreal, some are outside of the city, and some are international, but also even not speaking about the geographical location, but where you'll actually be conducting the work. Some internships are fully in person, requiring interns to be on site at the host organization's office for all of their hours. Some are hybrid, where there will be some office presence and some work from home, and then some are fully remote. And you'll note that certain positions have some flexibility in which of these three types of work situations they're willing to host for the internship. So if there is flexibility in this, it will be stated in the posting. And in that case, you might have to indicate in your application materials whether you're applying to be in person, hybrid, or remote. And if you are looking at a posting and interested in applying for one that is asking you to specify which type of position you're looking for, that should be included in your cover letter. There's not a space on the application form itself because it's not the case that it varies for every placement. So if the posting you're interested in indicates that you can let them know which type of position you're interested in, then it should be in your cover letter. Okay, so this is to give you an overview of the timeline so you can have a sense of the way that this works and when you'll hear back. So again, our deadline for submitting your application is February 8th. And for the rest of the month of February, that's when our office is reviewing applications and conducting interviews. Then in the month of March, we send over the shortlisted candidates to all of the host organizations, and they will be reviewing applications, interviewing candidates if they choose to do so, and sharing their decisions with our office. And in April is when everyone who has applied will hear by early in April whether or not they've been selected for a position. And students who do not receive offers will be notified on a rolling basis. But again, it's by early April that everyone will hear. And once you do, if you do receive an offer, you have 3 days to decide whether or not you're going to accept that position. So just to wrap up the application process portion, these are some takeaway reminders. So you'll have the opportunity to select one, two, or three postings to apply for. And if you did apply for our early deadline postings, you can still apply to three now in this round. Um, Another reminder to get your CV and cover letter reviewed before applying. So CAPS has um, advisors that are available every day, and you can bring your materials right to them and workshop them with these experts and make sure that they are really reflecting um, why you are a great candidate for the positions you are applying for. Remembering to adapt all of your documents to each posting that you want to be applying for. Again, pre-departure is required to be completed before you submit your application. Your CV and cover letter need to be in one PDF, and your application will not be considered if one of those documents is missing. So you need both, but they have to be in one file. And if there are specific requirements, for example, specific citizenship or language skills that the posting specifies, you should include that in your cover letter so that it is abundantly clear that you meet these strict criteria. Another note, we've already been receiving some questions about flexibility in the dates of postings, and the dates on postings are fixed. So if there is flexibility, it will say so. Otherwise, the host organization has determined what the dates are that they are available to host an intern, and it is not something that can be adjusted. So please note that and check each posting specifically to get a sense of whether or not there's flexibility there. Note that your applications can be submitted in French or in English, and if the position requires another language competency, such as Spanish, as many of our partners do, you can also submit your application materials in that language, and we encourage you to submit a cover letter in the language that is required, if another language is specified. But it's great, it's good for our end as the Arts Internship Office for you to include an English version as well. So if, for instance, you're applying to a posting that takes place in a Latin American country and requires you to speak Spanish, we encourage you to submit a cover letter in Spanish and also an English translation of it. And finally, applications are only reviewed after the deadline, so you won't be hearing anything from our office until afterwards. And it's not the case that if you submit your application today, it will be treated any differently from one that's submitted in a few weeks. So you really should, we encourage you to take your time crafting a high quality application for each of the postings, and not rushing to submit early because we won't be reviewing on a rolling basis anyhow.
If you don't mind, Kate, I just had
Yeah.
a one or two things to add. Just for the 1 to 3 choices, because that's also, I'm thinking of all the questions we got last year. You don't have to apply to all three. So there's only one posting that speaks to you, there's only two. Again, if you saw on the back end of the form, there's only the first choice that's mandatory, that's required to fill the form. So yeah, don't force yourself to apply to all three. Again, as Kate mentioned, it's really quality over quantity. Make sure you don't just copy paste the same cover letter for all three and just change the name. And as Kate also just said, really take the time for your applications. Kate's going to mention all the resources that we have to help you prepare your application. And something also to note about the selection process. So if you do get selected by our office and your application gets forwarded to the host organization, you would only get forwarded for one out of the three postings. So if you get forwarded, you're no longer considered for the other two, or how many other ones that you applied for. So just to note that you would only get forwarded for one of the positions out of three. Okay, just
Great.
a few things I wanted to add. Thank you.
Thanks, Jade. So a quick note on academic credit, because some of you might be interested in receiving credit for your internship. Um, Note that not all departments offer the course that you would need to be taking in order to receive credit, but you can check with your individual department, and we have more information at the link that's included on this slide. But if your department does offer an internship course, there are specific eligibility requirements that you'll need to make sure that you meet. They vary department by department. But if that course does exist and you meet the eligibility criteria, you'll need to apply to be considered for this to receive credit before you begin your internship. You can't apply once you've started your internship, we don't accept applications. So you need to be thinking of this ahead of time before your internship actually begins, because it can be a bit of a lengthy process just because your internship needs to be approved by our office, which it already is if it's one of our postings, but we'll need to review your submitted paperwork anyhow, and then your department also needs to approve it. So there's just a few pieces to coordinate, and it's best to start that as early as possible if you're interested. Um, that is, oh, and then your internship will take place in the summer, but you would be taking the internship course in the fall afterwards, just in terms of timing. So then we'll just talk a little bit about funding, although note that if you apply for one of the AIO postings, you are automatically going to receive an award. As I mentioned earlier, you will see the specific amount of funding that will be granted to you on each posting, so you know ahead of time exactly how much funding you'll receive. Um, that what that means is that you don't need to submit an application to our for an award because you are automatically receiving one. But if you are interested in applying for other internships outside of the ones offered through our office, that's another option that's available to you to apply for funding separately. But if you are selected for one of our postings, you will automatically be receiving an award, and you will need to fulfill all of the award recipient requirements in the handbook. Um, the awards are dispersed in two payments, one in June and one in July, and they are meant to provide partial funding to interns to offset costs related to your internship. If you meet the criteria for the scholarships and student aid office for need-based funding, you can also receive this funding, apply for this funding on top of the award that you'll be receiving through our office. So just to note that those are not mutually exclusive. And we have the link there for you to look more into the details of that, and you can find out if you qualify for the need-based funding as well. So we're going to finish the session today talking about training opportunities. So just a quick overview. There are events and training for all of our selected interns, a couple that take place before, during, and after your internship, respectively. In April, we have a meeting that all interns that are receiving one of our postings placements, but also other interns who have found their own internships but applied for funding through our office will be attending the all interns meeting. And then there's specifically a reception for award recipients where a lot of our donors who provide funding for those awards will be present. Then during your internship in May, we have a couple of workshops to help you make the most out of your internship and make sure that you are participating in an ethical and equitable way. So we have the Make the Most Out of Your Internship workshop to help you with goal setting and planning for how you're going to be developing personally and professionally during this experience. And then the equity office at McGill leads an intern positionality workshop as well. So both of those take place in May. And then after your internship in September, we have a debriefing workshop with a lot of reflecting activities, and we'll be guiding you. Well, we'll have speakers from CAPS who will be guiding you on updating your CVs to reflect the experience that you've gained through your internship. And then the Arts Internship Office has our annual event in September as well. That is an opportunity for you to speak about the experience you've had if you'd like to join us as a speaker. And yeah, that's a beautiful, fun time. But before that, you'll need to be accepted. So we have a number of different workshops available to help you prepare your applications. Tomorrow we have a cover letter writing workshop at 2 p.m. And then those are also being hosted on other dates, as you can see, in addition to our CV writing workshop. And then later in February and March, we have workshops to help you prepare for internship interviews. So a lot of resources available to you to help make sure that your application is as good as it can be and that you make a strong first impression in your interview. In addition, as we've mentioned, you can go to CAPS, and there are also, they not only have their advisors, but they also have a lot of resources that you can find on their website linked here to do some work on your own as well on those resources of CVs and cover letters. And then, in addition to those workshops where you'll be actively working on CVs and cover letters, we have some events coming up. So, January 26th to 30th from 3 to 5, there will be drop-in hours each day that week with previous interns here at our office. So, that's Leacock Room 308. And you can feel free to come by and have a cup of tea and eat a cookie and chat with past interns about their experience, both applying for internships and actually doing the internships, being there to tell you what it was like. We will have the schedule for that posted soon, and you'll be able to see who will be present at the drop-in hours and what internships they did. So you might be able to check and see that someone specifically is available to talk to you for one of the postings you're the most interested in, and you can choose to come at that time to make sure you can talk to that person. And then as I mentioned, if you apply for one of our postings, you are automatically an award recipient. But if you're also considering applying, finding your own internships to apply for, and we do encourage you to apply for a number of opportunities, then you could also attend our info session on how you could apply to the Faculty of Arts for funding if you find another internship externally from our office. And that info session is on February 3rd. And on our website, there's a nice screenshot there that maybe is too tiny for you to read, but there's a tab of events and it lists all the events and you can register for them there. So just to leave you with the key deadlines for the three types of internships that we offer, the AIO postings deadline is February 8th. ARIA, our research internship award, is February 22nd. And then if you find your own internship and apply for an award to receive partial funding through our office, that application is due March 15th. So your next steps are we really encourage you to go to the website, read the postings. They are like 99% of them are posted, and the final ones. Oh, Jade, are they
100%.
done? Yes.
100%.
Okay. All of them are up, guys. Go read them. Um, and so, yeah, you can go through those categories that we showed before. All of the PDFs are there with all the details about location, requirements, etc. So go read through those. Then join us for AMI Week, the Arts Mentorship Initiative, Arts Internship Mentorship Initiative at the end of January to chat with past interns. You can also come see us during drop-in hours, and I'll show you when those hours are in a minute. Sign up for our other workshops to help you craft a really specific and high quality CV and cover letter. And then make sure you register for pre-departure orientation if you're considering going outside of Canada before finally your final next step of submitting your application. In order to know exactly when all our different events and workshops are coming up, you can subscribe to our listserv and you can follow us on social media as well. Always feel free to send us an email or come to our drop-in hours if you have questions now that these applications are all open and you're actually looking at them. You might encounter something that feels confusing when it didn't seem like it would be. So, yeah, come chat with us and we are happy to help you out. These are the hours when we are specifically available to discuss any of your questions about internships or funding. And in general, if you walk by the office and the door is open, you can, and it's not one of these times, you can feel free to ask us if we're able to answer your question in that moment as well. So I think now we will go to questions. I'll move over to our frequently asked questions just to make sure that that's clear to everybody. So our resources focus on summer internships. All of our postings take place during the summer. We totally encourage you to pursue internships that are not directly related to your major if you're interested in them and you have both interest and skills that align with the posting, then it's a great thing to do. It is totally possible for U0 and U1 students to get an internship, so we encourage you to apply. That's definitely happens all the time. We do have research-oriented internships. The ones through our postings are not really, that's not their focus, but the ARIA program is available to you, and you should check that out if that's something you're interested in. Again, you totally can pursue an internship outside of Canada. We have a whole travel section on our website, and language requirements vary based on position. So just make sure that you're reviewing the postings carefully. But there's not a blanket rule about French language skills. So
We had some questions in the chat, and I think the first
great.
one is actually about language.
Okay.
So someone was asking, when you mention language requirements, you mean stating what languages you speak in cover letters. So if you look at the postings, the PDF, as Kate mentioned, some of the positions are going to specifically ask for you to speak French or for you to speak Spanish. So in that case, you can submit your cover letter in another language. But in your CV, you can always include what languages you speak. That's definitely one of the skills you can mention. But on top of having it on your CV, you want to make sure that if it's clearly listed as a mandatory requirement, or even if it's listed as an asset, that you also mention it very clearly in your cover letter, or that you write your cover letter in that language to show that you have the language skills. Hopefully that answers that question. And the other person asked, I might have missed this part, but do I need to attend pre-departure orientation even if I'm applying to internships in Montreal? So pre-departure is really for internships outside of Canada. So even if you're considering doing an internship outside of Canada, it's not, you don't have to say, you don't need to have the internship confirmed before you do the orientation. So even if you're considering it, it's good to do it just so that you have the certificate of completion. As Kate said, it's valid for 1 year. So if you've also already done it for another activity, like if you went on exchange and you already have the certificate of completion and it was done less than a year ago, then you can attach that to your application. If it expires while you're doing the internship or before you leave for the internship, you might have to redo the orientation just to make sure you have it valid throughout the duration of the internship. If you are only staying in Montreal, you're not considering going anywhere outside of Montreal, you do not need to do the pre-departure orientation. But again, if you want to be safe and just make sure that you have it, it's good to do because again, there's monthly registration cycles. So you don't want it to be, too late in February for you to be able to register. So yeah, if there's any like specific questions about pre-departure, also we do really great publicity for them, but it's hosted by McGill Abroad. So if you go on the website, there's an email. I think it's safetyabroad@mcgill.ca. So if you have specific questions about pre-departure, you can email them directly. And if you go on their website, they have a lot more information about just safety during travel and how to prepare for travel. So yeah, all the information is there. I don't know if
Great.
there's any
If there
other
are any other
questions.
questions, yeah, you can feel free to put them in the chat or to unmute and ask them out loud.
I also wanted to mention, maybe Kate, if you can show on the website, it might be obvious, but where to find the link to apply and just the instructions, because we showed the back
Mm,
end. But just to show you, so it's on the first page of the postings.
yeah.
But since you can't see everything on the Microsoft Forms without filling it, we have everything detailed on the first page of the website.
Yeah. So well, I was just doing it while Jade was talking. Maybe I'll speak through it again from our homepage. If you click Learn More or you click Internships up here on the menu at the top and click to see internship postings. When you scroll down before you start looking at the specific sectors, there's all of the instructions and details on how to apply, and this button here is the application form. So when you click there, it's going to launch that form that we saw the back end of, unless you're my computer and you're really slow today. Well, I won't type my password in to show you, but logged me out over the course of this Zoom meeting.
But
But
a
down
good point is
here,
that you
yeah.
have to log in as a student as well with your McGill credentials because the form is only open to McGill students. So just to know.
Yeah, let's say that was on purpose, to show you that. But yeah, so all of this information shows, again, this is what was abbreviated on the slides, but all of the information that you'll need to prepare, and the requirements and instructions are all on this page as soon as you click to our internship postings.
While we're here, we'll also upload the recording of today's session on that page. So if you want to go back and see it. So again, feel free to ask your questions because it will help other students as well, who might have the same questions, and it will help us so that we only have to answer the question once. So really don't hesitate. We're also a small group, so feel free to unmute yourself. But also to talk a bit more about the ranking because we did some other events and had some questions about students who were like, I already have a lot of them that I really like, and I like them all equally. And if you're struggling with ranking your top three, if there's three of them that you want to apply for and don't know which one to put as your first choice, um, I would say really in that case to talk to the past intern if there is one. If it's a new internship, they might not be a past intern, but talk to us as well to really get a sense of what the organization is like, what the skills and they're requiring for this internship. Again, obviously it's on the posting, but like don't be afraid to come to drop-in hours or connect with past interns. Um, if there's a past intern that's not at our AMI events in 2 weeks that you would like to get in touch with, you can always send us an email at AIO@mcgill.ca. And then we can put you in touch with the students through. We ask that you don't like find the students on your own, just to make sure that we also respect their privacy and in case that they don't have capacity to be talking to other students currently. But you can go through us and we can put you in touch with them. And a lot of them are usually very happy to share their experience. Not to be on the spot, but Haya, for example, did the UNHCR Montreal internship. And Haya is a newly, also she worked with us as our staff. So she'll be here during drop-in hours as well. So if you want to talk specifically about the UNHCR Montreal posting, again, you can do so during her work hours, which is a really great opportunity. But again, if there's someone, outside of Haya and the other students that will be here during events, you can also email us so we can put you in touch. And yeah, when you decide on your ranking, it's very personal. That's not something we can necessarily answer for you. But really to think of your interests and your skills, and out of all the postings, which ones is really the most aligned with your interests and your skills, because again, they're quite diversified. And not to think too much about how competitive each posting can be. It's hard for us to answer. I know we get that question a lot as well, but things can change from one year to another. It can be super popular one year and not the other one. So it's really hard for us to even predict those numbers. And also because we don't want students to think about, oh, I'm not even going to apply for that because it's too competitive, because it's really about, are you a good match for this position or not? And that's how you can be competitive. I don't know how you agree on that, but I think, like sometimes I like to give the example of Synergos that was very popular, for the past few years. And then we were thinking of maybe changing the requirements to up a year since that's the kind of student that they usually went for. And then I think it was 2 years ago now, but it was a U0 student who actually had that internship while it was very one of the most competitive one that we had that year. So just to show that, like even us, like we don't want to change requirements. We really look at the whole package. So it's not just whoever has a 4.0 or whoever has the most, if 3 years of experience. We don't require all of that. It's really specific to each position and how much of your interests and skills match up with that position. So really take the time. Again, we can't say it enough about take the time to read all the postings, take the time to talk to the people, to past interns, to our staff, to CAP. Again, we can't just like load every word on your application and edit it for you because, as we said, a conflict of interest. But there are people who can actually do that word by word at CAP. You can come to workshops that are offered by Yes Entrepreneurship and Employment, who is an external facilitator. And it's not recorded, so it's really interactive. You can also bring your questions, and she gives really good advice on how to craft your CV and cover letters. So just some words of encouragement, hopefully. And again, I know between students, there's a lot of talk about competitiveness. So I just want to make sure that you are not afraid of that, and that you come and talk to us to make sure that, your skills, once again, align with the posting. And I will let Haya talk because I will ramble on.
Thank you so much, Jade. Yeah, I was in this position last year, literally exactly last year, of applying for the summer internships, the summer 2025 internships. And I almost didn't apply for UNHCR because I was like, well, it's the UN. I'll never get into the UN. No one does that. And everyone was saying that it's the most competitive one, and a lot of people say that about every internship. So do not take word of mouth seriously. And even if it is the most competitive, please look at your skill set, look at if it aligns with the posting, and based on that, and of course your interests, do the ranking. But do not hesitate to put a prestigious internship as your first choice, just out of fear that you won't get in, because chances are if your skills align, you just might get in. So yeah, don't ever be afraid. Don't censor yourself, is what I'm saying. Thank you, Jade and Kate.
Thank you, Haya. Again, I think it means a lot more when it comes from a student who has been through the process. So that's why we work a lot with past interns. And sometimes, also with CV and cover letter, like there's no magical words. If you put, we talk a lot of like using keywords from the posting is definitely a really good way to have a strong application. Again, because you want to make sure that your skills and interests align with the posting. But there's not like a magic word just because like the intern last year had this kind of letter, just because you do the same thing doesn't mean you're necessarily going to get it. It's really, once again, a whole package. But it's really talking to past interns to hear from their experience and to make sure that it's what you want to do. Because again, you're going to be doing this for 2 to 3 months during your summer. It's a high commitment activity. So you want to make sure it's something you're actually interested in. And again, you might learn more, from talking to the past intern, than just reading the posting. And again, if there was an intern last year, we usually have the link under it as well. So even if you don't talk to them one-on-one, you can still read their reports and hear a bit more about what the day-to-day was like and what their highlights and challenges were, to make sure that you can prepare best for it. Sorry, I've been talking a lot. So if there's questions, feel free to send them. But otherwise, we are also taking questions through email, or again, really don't hesitate to drop by the office in person. We're in Leacock on the 3rd floor in room 307. So again, we have drop-in hours, but our door is also usually open for questions. But you're already doing a great first step by being here today, and thank you for your questions in the chat. Again, I'm sure they're going to help other people as well who are navigating the postings.
Great. Well, thanks everyone. I think we'll end there and see you at our upcoming events and during office hours. Good luck with your applications.